See if anybody's going to walk behind us.
Good morning, everyone. We are live here at Calnina 2022, and we are out here in La Jolla, and everything has been really good so far. I mean, I'm sitting here now. Now, we did this announcement already just a few days ago, and I'm here with Karen Marquez of RapidSOS, and RapidSOS is a new media partner sponsor. So this is a media partner sponsor spotlight, and we're going to be going through a few different things here. So as I said, Karen is here. She's the Chief Public Safety Brand Officer. How is it going?
Good. How are you, Ricardo?
I'm doing really well. However, I didn't get a lot of sleep. You are probably all right because of the change.
Yes.
You're only 2 hours, right?
Just an hour difference.
An hour difference, yes, from here. And for me, I'm on Eastern time. So when I arrived here at the hotel, I think it was almost midnight, which would have been way later on the Eastern side. So I didn't get a lot of sleep, but I'm excited to be here, excited to be back. I also have Michael Hirsch here with us. He's a senior product manager with Sirius XM Connected Vehicles. How's it going, man?
It's good to be here.
All right.
I'm doing well.
Good.
2 hours for me.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah.
Well, I'm so happy to have you both on here. As people, as you're watching and listening and everything, you can probably hear a lot of the background as well. We are in the vendor hall right now. And if you're an attendee, in the main building, there's a whole different section of industry partners that are there. If you come outside and go to the right, there's another section with a lot more industry partners, and we're at booth 24. So that's where we're at right now. But we're going to jump right into this and get started because there's a lot of different things that the both of you are doing together. But what I want to start out with first is for those who are watching and listening, I want to start out with a little bit of a background and summary on each one of you, but also for the companies that you work with. Karen, let's start with you.
Yes. Just background. Okay.
Yeah.
So I've been with RapidSOS for about 4 years now, and I've had the pleasure and opportunity to do so many amazing things here. But before I came over to RapidSOS, I was in the 911 center for just over 21 years. And, I think what really helps drive me and why I'm so passionate about what we do here at RapidSOS is because I've been that telecommunicator in the seat before, and I have answered those calls where location has been a challenge. And while we have come so far from location, it is still the foundation of every single 911 call. And without it, we can't get those resources to that person that's in an emergency. So I love all the data that we're bringing in, but it always starts with the location of that call. So really drives what we're doing here. And, being able to make a difference in my own center, getting involved at our state level, but now I get to help empower telecommunicators all across the country to utilize tools that are going to actually save lives so they don't have those same stories that we had when we were in the seat.
Oh, man. Yeah, exactly. Thinking about it, back then, and I wish that a lot of this technology was there back then. However, I think it kind of made us who we are today, too, because, we went through a lot of that struggle and trying to find different ways to do things. And, when people come up and talk to us now, it's like, this is the way it is now. But for us, it was way different.
It was very different, very hard. We had databases where we could access information, but it took so much time, and it took for people to allow us to use our brain, and it took for our managers to allow us access to certain databases to try to find information. But it took 20 minutes, 5 minutes, and those seconds really matter. And so having information accessible as that call comes in, and many times even before that call comes in, that is life-saving. And that's really what we're doing now to make a difference. And it's just absolutely incredible. And yes, we tell the stories of the past because we have to build around where have we come from and where are we now, and then where is this industry going and where is it growing to. And there's so many incredible things that are coming, and we're just so happy and honored to be part of it.
Well, before we get to Michael here, I do have one more question for you as you're talking about your background and everything and what you're doing with the company, what the company is doing. How does it make you feel?
I'm humbled. Honestly, I pinch myself every day, I cannot believe that I get to do this, right? And we get to do this with public safety partners. We get to do this with agencies and hear what their problems are and provide solutions for them to change the stories and to change the outcomes. It is one of the most amazing missions to be part of. And I speak for the entire company when I say that, because you'll talk to folks from our marketing department and sales and engineering and leadership, and we are just aligned with that mission to serve public safety and to really help support them in everything they do, from what I say their everyday to their worst day. Right? If there's something that happens at a 911 agency, let's say it's an outage, whether it's from a man-made disaster, natural disaster, or whatever that may be, we want them to know that they can trust RapidSOS to give us a call, and we're going to help support them and provide tools that are going to really make a positive impact for them in every single moment they have.
Amazing. Well done. Now, Michael, how about
to follow?
Yeah. Now it's your turn.
Oh crap!
Yeah, just a quick summary and everything. On where you come from, what is that you do, especially with the company that you're working with, because there's that connected vehicles part that we really want to hit home on, because in the beginning, as we were talking about this, as we were getting ready to start this. You told this story, about the company and everything, those two different pieces there, or at least the identifiers, and I didn't know that part either. So definitely want you to let you in on
absolutely. So SiriusXM, we're fortunate to have lots of name recognition. Our parent company is the audio, the satellite radio.
Mm-hmm.
And so whenever I come to an event like this or start talking to public safety, every time this is related to the satellite, or this is, how is this connected to the radio?
Right.
And it's not. The connected vehicles, we're a division of SiriusXM. We've been a telematics service partner and a third-party call center for over 25 years. We've worked with something like 20 different OEMs over that time. We have millions of vehicles on the road today that we support as that third-party call center. But when the person in the car has to make that call, and hopefully just asking for information, hopefully not the emergency calls, but we're going to answer with the name brand of those cars on the road. So it's the Toyota Connect or Nissan Connect, and it's the name brand of those vehicles on the road. So most people don't know we're in that space. It's always a little bit surprising. But yeah, we take the calls, whether it's an emergency call, whether it's an information call, crash events, SOS calls. We're doing that pre-screening to make sure there's a need for dispatch, and then we're making the call outbound to the public safety provider. And I've been with the company personally for about 10 years. I came in from the automotive side and making that connection happen, getting the information out of the vehicle. And then about 3-4 years ago now, moved over into the side where dealing more with that communication downstream. So we've always had that call center. We've always had that voice relay where our agent is talking to the public safety agent and verbally relaying that data. Because we get a rich data set from the car. We get the location. We know what they're driving. We may know who's in the vehicle from, who's associated with that car, and we get crash data. But as Karen already mentioned, the key is getting the location, knowing what vehicle you're looking for, and getting that help out as quickly as possible. And so that's always been the focus. But we have a lot of data that's being left behind, data that can help assess the situation, that can make for a better, more informed response. And the challenge has always been getting that information out to the first responders without slowing down the process, without burying somebody in unnecessary detail.
Right.
And then, of course, the other challenge is here in the United States, it's a very fragmented market. Different CAD tools, different policies and procedures. How do we make that data get that last mile so that it's not purely verbal? And that's why SiriusXM Connected Vehicles is working with RapidSOS to reach out to all those call centers across the United States to get that data in that last mile. And then where it shows like here, we're happy to be here at Calnina. We talk to a lot of the PSAPs, a lot of the first responders, because in the short couple of years that we've been working with RapidSOS, we've probably done a dozen or so iterations already of that interface, making sure that it's as clear as possible, that it's as easy to read as possible. Because again, it comes back down to, if you bury somebody under a data that isn't going to necessarily be used, you're not helping.
Right. So how are you two working together? How are the companies working together then?
So we are basically, when we get an emergency situation, and our agents have talked to the person in the car, have, yes, this person, it's not, oh, my kid hit the SOS button. We don't need any help. Yeah, please turn it off. When it is an emergency event, then in addition to the voice channel that we've always had reaching out to the first responders, we're also sending that data through RapidSOS, and they're delivering it in through the portal or through now integrations with CAD tools. That's one thing we've actually got showcased at the Calnuma booth.
Yeah.
We were able to work with Sunridge and show where data is flowing directly into the CAD tool. So there's no copy pasting, there's no looking at multiple windows. It's flowing directly into the CAD tool. And one thing that RapidSOS has really been helping us with is working on that integration, making sure that data is getting that last mile, whether it's coming in through the portal, whether it's going directly to the CAD tool, making it readily available, making it easy to use, making it clear.
That is probably the best part right there. Right, you said right there at the very end, making it clear. Like everything coming in. I mean, how about you? How are you? How are you processing this? Like I saw you guys over there running demos and doing everything already, and people are coming up, people look excited and everything. But I kind of asked you this already with the company itself, but the partnership alone, how is that?
Well, and I would say from a partnership standpoint, it is wonderful to work with the SiriusXM team. We have learned so much. When I bought my connected vehicle and I see SiriusXM, you do kind of assume that it is radio. And I was telling this story the other day on one of the webinars with them. The sales guy, when I bought my car, said, yeah, if you poke that button, automatically somebody's going to be sent to your location. I was like, well, dude, that's not how it works. So let's sit down in the car before we go out for a drive. But, I think what's important is because of the partnership we have with amazing companies like SiriusXM Crash, automatic crash notification, and then also with the public safety agencies, we can say, okay, here's the data you have. How does a dispatcher use it, whether it's in the call flow or the dispatching piece? What's going to be most important to them? And then we can iterate several times to make sure that it is being received, that it can be absorbed in the right way for that different workflow from a call taker to a dispatcher. We can bring those partnerships where, SiriusXM may not have had public safety relationships in the space before, and now we're bringing that voice of the customer also to them so that in that ecosystem, we help make improvements for citizen safety. We are all consumers at the end of the day, but now we're bridging the gap between what is available for consumers and then what is the reality in the first responder workspace, right? So I love the partnership that we have with them because we're continuing to learn, but what it is you're in the mission, we're in the mission, these agencies are in the mission, and now we are together. Right. And so I think there's just so much power in that collaboration.
Oh, that's amazing. That's and exciting as well. And on top of this, everything that you're doing here in the vendor halls and stuff, you also have a session coming up together, right? Tell us about that session.
Yes, so tomorrow we are going to be on a panel. It's tomorrow afternoon with the team from SiriusXM. So Mike will be a panelist with us, sharing all about what crash notification is through SiriusXM, what kind of data, and what is the impact? How do you use that information? And let's walk through the call flow and talk about some scenarios, because really it is powerful information at the fingertips. And how can we start to save lives and really truly impact that time on scene? And then we have some other partners that are going to be on that panel as well, Axon and Vitals. And so we're really excited to be talking with our partners that are delivering this mission critical life-saving data and really educating the public safety users of our applications. How do they use it? Because again, we've had information that's been given analog via voice, and we take that information and we ask very specific questions. But there's also information that we didn't know to ask because it wasn't in our call flow. And so how is that information used to truly impact that response? So from crash notification, we're getting in things like seat belts, right? And if there's hazards or fluids leaking, well, maybe we didn't ask that before when we were saying, hey, what's the location of the accident? What kind of vehicles are involved? What color are those vehicles? And people don't know. They translate colors. Even the year, make, and model is like, not what you get on scene.
Right.
And so
Exactly.
Having that information allows them to very quickly verbally verify that information and then move on to what's going to be most impactful for police, fire, and EMS out on scene.
And the session itself is for everyone.
It's for everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody. If you have never heard of SiriusXM crash notification, come
Connected
and
vehicles.
listen. Or connected vehicles. Sorry, thank you. And if you've not really understood what that partnership is like with RapidSOS, or you just want to learn more because you're using it every day, you see the information, but you still want more, it is for everyone. We want to make sure to encourage people to come and listen and share your feedback as well, because we can't make those improvements if we don't hear your voice. So yeah, I definitely encourage everybody to come and attend.
Excellent. Now, there's some stories also going along with this partnership, and we have another guest who's going to be joining us here momentarily. But I wanted to give Michael, I want to give you the floor here. Also, any stories that you might have heard or anything on any saves, if you have any. But on top of that, how can people find out more about what it is that you all are doing?
Well, there's a SiriusXM webpage,
Yep.
and I don't know the URL off the top of my head, but I guarantee you can find it if you search for it.
Yeah.
We have a presence here at Calamina, of course, and then we have a LinkedIn page under the SiriusXM Connected Vehicles name. There are probably others, and I'll get the information to you.
Perfect.
But there's a lot of ways that you can reach out, and of course, we're trying to work with any of the first responder community that is willing to work with us, because we aren't as well known by our name. We talked about that a little bit already.
Yes.
They are always a little bit surprised to hear SiriusXM is in the space. But one thing that it's fascinating to me working in the space is that there are things that I've never thought about. I approach it from a technical standpoint. How can we get the data there? How can we make it better? But there are things that I don't think about. Like, we were talking to one set of first responders, I don't know, it's not been more than 2 or 3 weeks ago, and they had a major crash event. And it was on a highway, lots of traffic. And they had dozens of calls, literally dozens of calls, from Good Samaritans who saw the accident, were trying to call in and say, hey, these people need help. And so they're getting all these pinpoint drops on their CAD tool from the map saying, I think it was by this exit, or I think these cars were involved in that list, and called out from that list in the RapidSOS portal was the actual first party data from the car.
What?
So that there's a little orange chyron in the portal, or in the CAD tool in this case, where it indicates, yes, that is the SXM. There's vehicle data present related to that call. So they were able to quickly grab the one that had the actual crash data, the actual first party data from the vehicle, out of the list of all the people who, very well meaning, were trying to call in and help, but didn't have that. This is exactly where the incident occurred.
Wow.
This is the exact car involved. This was the type of crash. These airbags went off. This is where the impacts were. In that particular case, the vehicle had rolled. So, they knew all that from looking at the data set, and being able to easily grab that unique call out of the larger list of calls that were flooding into the call center made it easy to triage that event.
Oh.
Or easier, I'd like to say.
Now imagine back in the day.
I know. That's why I went like this, because I could feel like the hair, the camel hair in the back of my neck going, because that is definitely like that moment. It's like that meme where they show like the goosebumps and the hair standing up, and it's like, cat or full staffing or something.
Right.
And what you just said, yes. Because that was one of the things that we always dealt with, right? There was always like 100 and whatever calls coming in for the same thing. No one really had any information, but you're able to decipher and triage, like you're saying, and have that information. That's amazing.
And that car knows exactly where it's at. It knows what happened much better than the people that are calling you. Like you said,
Right.
Very well-meaning callers,
Yes.
but they're not professional 911 callers. And so they may not really understand direction of travel. They may not know the color, the make, and the model. And those things that just are going to cue the officers and the field responders to exactly what vehicle is involved in this incident or an event. We have rubbernecking, we have other witnesses that pull over to the side. And so that just creates further delays to get people to the patient or to that vehicle to make it. Now, if it's rolled over, of course, you're going to notice that one right away. But it also helps as they're driving to start thinking about how they're going to respond to this incident. What other tools might be needed on scene? What other resources may we have to send now?
Right.
Having that information can streamline it so that you're not delaying things by the time the responders get on scene and say, hey, can you add me a second engine or another medic?
And you've actually hit on something else that I wanted to touch on, which is while it differs what data is available in each car, we have a lot of situations where we have seatbelt information or occupancy sensors in the seats, so they know, is somebody sitting there. And if you know there are 4 people involved in an accident, well, if, God forbid, ambulances are required,
Yes.
you're not going to get 4 people into a single engine. You're going to need more than one responder to that site. And so it is a big help in just kind of assessing the scene in general.
Yeah, that is very true, because a lot of times, you've got maybe all of these calls on one car, but of course nobody knows how many patients they're going to be. And then, yeah, you're right. A rig gets out there and like, you need to send us 2 more. Like, we've got multiple
Yes.
injuries and everything here, but to be able to have that type of information, I mean, it's snappy,
And
It's amazing.
she already touched on location too, but that's another one that can be very, very key. We're getting not tower information, not cellular network information. We're getting GPS coordinates from the vehicle. And especially if you have an event in a rural area, that's huge, because today, if that's not available, then, oh yeah, I'm on a highway. I'm sorry, I'm passing through. I don't see an exit. There's a mile marker a little ways up. I'm going to walk down and try and get that. It's very difficult.
Right.
When we have, we Sirius XM CV have the location, the GPS location, we can pass that along. But if, we don't have the partnership, if we don't have the ability to deliver that data directly, then you have people reading off GPS coordinates. And that's 2 8-digit numbers that they have to, one person has to read correctly and the other person has to hear and enter correctly.
Right.
And that's not fast.
It's true.
By making that a digital delivery, suddenly it's just a pin plotted on a map, no matter where it is, downtown or in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, well, of course, and to build upon that as well, the difficulty of it, a lot of people when they call in and they're just hysterical, like everything is going nuts. In an emergency, sometimes you can barely dial,
Yeah.
but then to have to the coordinates and everything else, or give that to somebody, or even dispatch when it's just way crazy, to have that just kind of dump in there.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
It is amazing. And so I would encourage any person that has a RapidSOS account. So if you're using Portal, if you're using integrations, Portal has all of this information available to you in the training center. So when you're logged in, if you click that little hamburger menu, which is the 3 bars up on the top right corner of the screen, drop down to the training center and you can access all of the SiriusXM information. We have webinars that are posted there. There's a quick tip sheet, which is like a 1-pager cheat sheet for people to get used to. What is this call going to look like? What kind of data might be available? And it is available 24/7. And so I just really encourage people to go in there and learn more about the data that's coming in, how that's coming in, and all of the other information as well.
Superb. Before we bring on our next guest here, I just want to say really quick, I love that you mentioned the 3 lines being the hamburger icon, because I only know that from my web development days. I mean, I still do web development here and there, but I remember when I learned that, I was like, oh, it's the hamburger icon. So when you said it, I was like, oh, she must have been talking to some web designers or programmers or something, and they mentioned
my product team educates me. They make sure I know what I'm talking about. They're amazing.
Oh, that is awesome. I love it. Well, Michael, thank you for joining us here.
Absolutely.
and everything that you all are doing at SiriusXM Connected Vehicle Services. And then we've got our next guest who's going to be coming on here in just one moment. So we're going to switch out here really quick, and we're going to continue with the rest of this Media Partner Spotlight.
Excellent.
All right, here we go. Awesome. So, welcome.
Hello.
All right, so our next guest here is Carla, and it's Even?
Even.
Yes. Awesome, yes. And you work with the police, you're the police communications manager there at Chula Vista PD, right?
Yes, I am.
All right, excellent. Well, thank you so much for joining us here for this Media Partner Spotlight. And I want to, for those who are listening and watching right now, if you can give kind of a quick background on you, how many years you've been in public safety, just everything from top to bottom.
Sure. I've been in public safety and dispatch in particular for 22 years. I started in 2000.
Mhm.
I lateraled to another agency after about 4 years, ended up at Chula Vista, which I was able to promote to supervisor. And then I've been the manager in May. It'll be in March, the end of this month, it'll be 2 years.
Nice.
So I'm very new at manager, but
Are you digging it?
yeah, I am. It's great.
So when you ended up making the switch, and I have to ask because there's a lot of dispatch centers that do this, and I think it's hilarious. But when you end up going from being on the line and going to the other side, as it's been put, sometimes you'll see on social media someone will make like cupcakes or a cake or something as a congratulations, but instead it'll say like you're dead to us now or something like that. And I always find it so funny that happens because that's kind of that like loving relationship, almost like siblings and everything, that we have, that we build in the center and stuff. So it's always fun. It's like you're dead to me now, but you're not. It's just funny.
Yeah, my transition was like right around the time that COVID was happening in March of 2020.
Yeah.
So we always had sworn in charge of us. So a lieutenant would rotate through about every 2 years. When they told me I got the position, they said it takes effect in 2 weeks. And I left the captain's office, went down to dispatch, and my lieutenant had a cart and all of his stuff loaded on it, and was like, bye. So yeah, it's been good because the dispatchers know that I've been there and I understand like what they're going through and what they need and what they've been doing. So
awesome.
Yeah, and I care so much about them, and they know that. So it's been a good transition.
Excellent. Yeah. Now, before we get into some of the stories that we're going to be sharing here, I wanted to ask, what was some of your main motivation for, I guess, moving up in the ranks? A lot of times, and you can probably attest to this as well, a lot of times we end up moving up and such because, we had a great trainer, or maybe there was an incident that happened that, got us to a moment where we thought, you know what, I want to try to make some sort of change. So it motivates you to move up. So for you, what was kind of that motivation, inspiration for you to move up, especially to where you're at right now?
For me, it was about the ability to support the dispatchers. So when I decided to become a supervisor, it's because I had seen supervisors that did a really great job. And I wanted to do that. I wanted people to not come to work and feel as stressed out. Like I wanted them to have a safe place to come to work where we, at least as me as a leader, could make an impact on them. When I promoted to supervisor, and I did it just even for a minute, I had a great captain that was a lieutenant at the time in charge of me. And he was saying to me, like, I see things in you and in your leadership that I really like. And so he started mentoring me on how to make it even further in the process. So I decided that I would work towards that, and I got my degree. And it was about, how can I support the dispatch team? How can I, even becoming a dispatcher, how can I do something bigger than myself? And that's what has always driven me, is do something bigger than yourself. And it started with dispatching. Then it started with, okay, I'm going to lead a dispatch team. And then it started with, can I lead the whole comm center with the technology advancements that we have? What can I do to make their job easier and things better for them here at work? So that's my drive.
Dang, I want to work for you.
Well, I would say she is absolutely making an impact. She's been amazing. We've followed along Carla's journey, and it's just been a wonderful partner. You can tell she has such a heart for her people. And I hear amazing things from my California team. They love working with Carla. And so it's a pleasure to have her.
Very nice. Well, how long have you been working with RapidSOS at your center?
2018 is when we first got RapidSOS, and we had a lieutenant in charge of dispatch, and he told us like, hey, there's this new free thing and you can log on to this portal and you can see where people are calling from. And I remember I was working the graveyard shift dispatching, and I got the email and I logged in, and my very next call was a 911 call of a domestic violence, and the lady had ran from the house, and she ran down the street, was hiding in the bushes near one of the houses. She's like, I don't know where I am. He's walking up and down the street looking for me, and what do I do? And I put in her phone number, because at that time, RapidSOS, you had to manually put it, which now it just automatically does it. But I put in the phone number, and it showed me on which side of the house she was and where she was, and I was like, how did this just happen? Like, I just so happened to log in, and it helped us find that lady. So it's 2018 is when we started using it. Short answer.
Wow. Yeah. That's amazing to be able to have something come up and use it right off the bat, and
Yeah.
your jaw was dropped.
Yeah, I was like, okay, now we got to train everybody. This is amazing because we never had that technology before, and it was pretty tough. I'm like, why can Uber find you, but we can't? So when we got this, I was like, let me check this thing. Okay, it works.
Yeah.
It's great.
And how many times have either of you heard that from probably just, I don't know, anybody really?
Honestly, from the time that I started, and that was part of our messaging too, right? Is we hear from people in the community, why can Uber find you but 911 can't? Or why can I order a pizza on an app and I can see the little dot of the person that's delivering? So, we've really worked so hard to bring all of that to 911 centers with our partnerships. Obviously, we couldn't do any of it without our amazing partnerships from Google and Apple and companies like Uber. We power that little 911 safety shield as well in the
Yes.
Uber app, and Sirius XM and so many others, really because we want these impact stories and to empower telecommunicators to save that life, because that call made a difference for you in that moment.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And so we know that they are able to better serve their communities, and boy, that return on investment is just priceless.
Oh man, how big is the area that you cover, and about how many people are working at a time? And I mean, I can only imagine being around, even in this state, that it's always bumping. Like it's busy all the time.
Yeah. So Chula Vista is 52 square miles. So we currently operate everything on one radio channel. All the patrol units, specialty units, it's all on one radio. For our citizens, we have about, I want to say, with 275,000 is our population right now. And with our dispatchers on the graveyard shift, there's 4. 2 on radios, 1 supervisor, 1 call taker. So the supervisor doubles as a call taker. So, if more than 2 people are calling 911 on the graveyard shift, you only have 2 people answering the phone. And
Right.
Day shift, we have 7. So that includes 2 on radio, then a supervisor and 4 call takers. So as soon as somebody takes a break, I mean, it's like every other comm center where it's pretty tough. Our call volume last year was 331,000 calls. So
Man.
it's, in 2018, it was 250,000. So we're definitely increasing every single year. They're working hard. Yeah.
So to be able to have technology like this, it just definitely pushes it further to be able to help those out there, but also those who are answering the calls to be able to have, that rich data that's available where, we didn't have that before.
Right. Yeah. So the way that we're using RapidSOS now is it's integrated with Live 911, which live streams the 911 calls to the field units. So our dispatchers are working call volume where they're holding 60 to up to 115 pending calls waiting to be dispatched.
Oh my goodness.
They'll have 25 active calls, and that's one dispatcher on primary that's monitoring every call that gets updated, the changes, and trying to air that information. So when we use Live 911, the information goes directly from the caller and the call taker that are speaking, and the officers can hear it. So if you're, following a drunk driver, they're hearing that while the dispatcher's working a fight or something else. The call location, though, has been critical. We've had callers call in at a taco shop that's getting robbed at gunpoint, and they say, I'm at 1800 Main Street. Well, really, they're 1800 3rd at the corner of 3rd and Main, so it's on the other side of the city. So seeing their pin drop, the officers know, okay, we're going here, and we're not going where they said, which was on the other side of the city. So it's been really, really neat. Really neat. And not only can we see the RapidSOS data, our field units can see it. So if a call drops and they see where it is and they're close by, they know that something's happening right next to them.
Wow.
So, yeah.
And you started out in 2000, you said?
Yes.
So do you ever reflect on how it was when you first started and how it is now, especially if you've got newer folks that are coming on and, you kind of go into those war stories, so to speak, and talking about it. It's like, it wasn't like this before. Like, do you ever reflect on that and wonder, like, it's almost like, when we've got our cell phones, it's like, what was it like before that? If your car broke down or whatever, how did you do it?
Yeah.
But for you, in this sense, thinking about technology and where you started and where you're at now, I mean, can you imagine if you went back in time and told yourself, this is not only what I'm going to be doing in the future, but this is the type of technology that we're going to have as well?
Yeah, I actually have it. And now that you bring it up, I'm like, wow, our officers didn't even have NDCs. They actually wrote stuff down with a pen. or had to really listen to the radio. Now they're like, oh, they're going to send it to my MDC.
Or write it on their hands.
But, a lot of people talk about like the technology advancement when, too much technology, too much. And, but now, like with what we're using with the drone, we have a drone as first responder program. There's just this cohesive work environment where you can see what's going on in the field. The officers know where the callers are. They can hear what they're saying. And it makes everything come full circle. Instead of having just one path into dispatch, then you shorten it, give it out over the radio even shorter to save airtime. So it's been really neat to watch how it's come. But you like blew my mind though with that of like, could I go back and tell myself like, this is what you're going to be doing? It's like, no way.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and I ask people all the time, like, if you could go back in time to when you first started out dispatching, what would you tell yourself? Like, would you give yourself any advice? Like for me, I know I've said this many times, but I'll say it again. If I could go back in time, I would tell myself to get into yoga a lot sooner, because I had a lot of back and neck issues from sitting all the time and holding the phone like this to the side because my headset wasn't always working, but also getting into more of like meditation and stuff, because those breathing techniques really helped me when I was on phone calls to stay calm, because, we know that any switch in our voice, tone or whatever, the caller will react to that. And just in your tone, you can impact that call drastically in a sense. But for me personally, that's what I would say if I went back in time. Also, I would tell myself, give yourself a little more grace. Like, you'll be all right. Everything is going to be all right.
Yeah. Well, so I think it's interesting too, because with Live 911, and you said the field units are listening to that call now. We never would have imagined allowing an officer that's responding to a call to listen, right?
Yeah.
And so I've also heard from some agencies that are like, oh, I don't know if I want my officers to hear that. How have you all dealt with kind of that, I guess, a little bit resistance, or if there was resistance at a certain point in time, to let the officer hear you as you're call taking?
There was resistance, myself included. Okay. I was like, no way. But I didn't give my dispatchers enough credit, because we had always told the police officers, like, we're awesome. You should hear what we do. Like, we're amazing. And now that they are hearing the calls, they're like, you guys are awesome. And you can never explain that to patrol until they actually hear it.
Right.
And so that would be something that I would tell myself is like, it's okay if the officers hear it. There's nothing to be afraid of. You may have some training opportunities come up where you can help and make things better. So don't be so resistant to change. So that's what, when I just go back to what you say, what would you tell yourself? All the wellness stuff, find a good therapist. We all know what this job can do.
Right.
But also just to be open-minded to change. Dispatchers are, afraid of change. And it's like, I would just tell myself, like, you don't even understand like how these improvements can help. Like even when we got RapidSOS, it was like, no, we're not going to use another database. It's not interfaced. We don't want to do that. And then you type it in and you're like, wow, like look what this can do. So just be more open-minded, like all the way through.
Perfect.
I love that, because public safety, we still are very resistant to change, and we throw up so many red flags about why we can't do something. And it's like, just give yourself an opportunity to try. And when you get that win and when you get that success, it's like, oh my gosh, this actually helped me do something. Why was I so resistant? And so I would say the same thing if I were to go back and tell my former self, like, don't throw up all the red flags, just try it. See what it can do, see what that value is, and then figure out how you can apply it to your workflow. And I think the other beautiful thing is that technology is changing so rapidly.
Yeah.
And we're able to kind of change the industry, right? We know that one day at some point in time, people are not going to be calling 911. We've already seen a transition from people, whether it's generational, going away from making a 911 call to maybe texting 911 in some cases,
Yes.
Still very low volume. But then we have all of the sensors, right? Just like in the crash notification technology. There's sensors that can tell you so much more accurate information in split seconds. And so being able to rely on that, but having the good workflows and making sure that that data is provided to the 911 agency and those field responders, I think is going to make such a huge difference as we help drive 911 industry forward. Like sometimes it's pulling along a little bit, but we do.
Right.
We have to partner and we have to say, no, just try it. Look at this information, see how it can apply, but don't just throw up the red flag so quickly.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. You look at, for me, I will look at the mission of what they're trying to do, like RapidSOS. We're trying to get the location of the callers. Also, what's the mission of Live 911? To have the officers make the most informed decision. So what's the mission of a dispatcher? What's the first thing you need is the location. So it's right in line. It's going to make the dispatcher's job easier. So anything that you can add that's going to alleviate their stress of like, oh, I don't know where you are. It's like, now I know where you are. So then the dispatcher stress goes down. Hearing the calls that come in, it's same thing. You get stressed. Like, should I say it like this or that? Because I don't know how to say it where the officer is going to make a decision based on what I said. And it's stressful. And now that the information is being heard by the officers, the dispatchers are like, okay, they're hearing it right now. My fingers are on fire, trying to type it as fast as I can, but they're getting it. So it brings down their stress, both of the technologies. If you can have technology that helps them be less stressed, yes.
That's when you're winning, right? We even had an agency that shared very similar to your story where it was a domestic situation and the caller was running around. And because that location and the pins were available, that telecommunicator got to quickly switch from, I don't know where you are, tell me your location, to I see you, I'm with you. What is the suspect wearing? Is there a weapon? And so really being more empathetic to that situation instead of constantly like controlling that call. I need your location. So really, it does transition that and helps you to be part of the solution. And that does bring down the stress because you are helping the person in this moment. And there's my pat on the back for the day, right? Because I helped this caller.
Exactly.
And really, it just takes that one to give you that satisfaction that as a telecommunicator, I did something today that made a difference.
It's amazing. Well, this has been good having both of you on here as well as Michael and everything. This Media Partner Spotlight has been awesome. Thank you both. Thank you for coming on and sharing these stories. Also, just kind of talking about yourself and where you come from. It's refreshing always to hear other stories, from people from all over, on where they come from and their mission towards their folks. So thank you for what you do.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Now, for you, Karen, for people to find out more about RapidSOS and everything that you're doing, where do they go? Where can they go?
Well, we have quite the presence on social media, but if you just go to RapidSOS.com, that is our webpage, and you can connect there from, if you're a technology company and you want to learn more about sending life-saving technology to us, there is certainly a drop-down menu for you to click there and connect with our team. We have public safety partnerships, so we are partnered with major CAD companies and call handling providers and mapping solutions. And if you are in that space and you want to partner to receive this data to provide to your customers, connect with us there. If you would like your solution to be connected into public safety where we can actually empower some of these solutions to be connected in portal. So we have a partner called 911i, and you want that video solution, you'll connect with 911i team, and then we just enable it in RapidSOS portal for that seamless integration. It's a single sign-on workflow. But then for public safety agencies too, you can learn more there. And if you already have RapidSOS portal, that helps drive your integration credentials as well as the user interface. There's so much more information in that training center. And of course, you can always reach out to us. So we have csm@rapidsos.com or info@rapidsos.com for more information. And we'll make sure that you get connected to the right area.
Dang. It's like you've done this before.
No timer.
I know, man. Yeah, no, that was amazing. Thank you both once again for being on, and especially for RapidSOS being a media partner sponsor of Within the Trenches Media. There's a lot more stuff that we're going to be doing in the next few months, so make sure to look out for that. If you have any comments, questions, or you just want to shoot us an email, you can send one to wttpodcast@gmail.com. Once again, that is wttpodcast@gmail.com. You can follow us on Twitter. That is @91podcast. You can like us on Facebook. That is facebook.com/Within the Trenches Podcast. This Media Partner Spotlight has been sponsored by RapidSOS. And again, we've got a lot of awesome stuff coming up. And for Within the Trenches Media, just everything that's on there. We've got Open Mic Live that goes on social media as well as the main podcast, and you can listen to that. And that's on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, your favorite podcast, and podcasting app, rather, and withinthetrenches.net. Have a good one, everyone, and we will see you in the next one.